Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News with a massive drama emerging in Ascension over the last couple of days with the Guard rejecting their spot in the Partnership League and Riot then saying no, nobody else is coming in, screwing over the players. So much backlash to this by pretty much every pro in the league, all of the players themselves, loads of other organisations, loads of content creators, even the casters are getting involved in giving their perspective on this as well. Riot have now responded and said, look, we are going to reconsider. Will they change their mind on this? Will they find a way to allow the players on the Guard to join another organisation instead? What are the reasons behind them changing their mind if they do? Or will they say, you know what, our initial decision was actually still final, as they seem to imply when we talked about this yesterday? Very much intrigued to your perspective in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Now, first we've got to begin with some Rostermania stuff. This is a big one as well. KOI are finding themselves in critical financial trouble. And according to certain sources, this to me isn't a massive surprise. eBay and Co have had to apparently pay close to 3 million euros of his own pocket to pay salaries that the parent company has been unable to pay. There was a lot of, this is a messy situation when these guys initially partnered with this Infinite Reality thing that to me never really seemed to be a legitimate company as far as I'm concerned, but it's been dodgy, and now KOI are at risk of, being in an uncertain position. I guess the question would be, what happens there with their spot in the VCT? Is it possible that KOI will say, look, we can't do this, we've got to go, or could they find a way to still get the financing? They're going to have the stipend from Riot and everything for the league itself, but obviously they've got other esports that they've got to worry about as well, and apparently Riot does have other organisations on a shortlist. If it were necessary to replace KOI, they could do exactly that. So yeah, that's definitely a storyline to keep your eyes on. We also have discussions here, firstly actually from Furia, releasing another player, Mazin, officially gone from the team as of yesterday. So yeah, lots of rumours that it's going to be pretty spicy between Furia and MIBR, especially next season, given the roster changes they are looking to make. We also have this, so Turkish sources implying that Chronicle might be gone from Fnatic. That was a rumour that was going around yesterday. This source, anonymous source, says it's early to say, but they are exploring options kind of for Chronicle. And Minnie, the coach, says, nonsense. This ain't true. We aren't making any changes. And I'm pretty sure Chronicle said that on stream last night as well, that, yeah, we're not making any moves. Yes, I didn't play so well against Loud, but it is what it is. Fnatic are going to stick around, as it makes perfect sense for them to do. And I know that some people have said that when you see, like, Turkish sources in VALORANT, it's kind of similar to Italian sources in Formula 1. You've got to take it with a pretty sizable grain of salt. This also from Benkai, and this is a big one, right? As he says, hello friends, Paper X has allowed me to seek opportunities as a restricted free agent able to relocate, and clearly implies interest in going to play potentially for the Chinese league. This is what I'm saying with some Singaporean players that also speak Mandarin, that there's a realistic chance that they could potentially go and join at some of the Chinese teams, because yeah, China, brand new league, 10 new teams, 50 new players, there's lots of opportunities over there, and Benkai could be an ideal candidate to get that done, but he is going to be a restricted free agent, as in they have to pay a buyout to get him, so he's not as free as some other players might be at the present time. This also the first iteration of the Flynn VCT spreadsheet for this offseason. So we've got others coming soon. Just to say, just because Cloud9 says pretty likely for all of the players to stay and pretty likely for 100 Thieves, for example, that's not the case. I mean, these teams will change. It's simply, as Flynn said in the replies, like, we don't really have any info, so there's not much to go on here. But what he does say, just to quickly note, is that on Sentinels, he's got Valin and John QT down as likely IGL replacements for effectively Marved, who seems to be quite likely to be gone. So those are the two names that are going around. John QT, formerly of M80, Valin, formerly of the Guard. But let's not forget, if Valin and the Guard find a solution that they will want to find to join a new organisation, then, that leaves Sentinels in a spot that they might not be in ideally, unless John QT was the man they wanted all along, or they could try and get FNS if they could convince him to come, because FNS seems to want to go full LeBron mode and pick his own team, which maybe is slightly ambitious. So there's lots that will change here. Just because it's green, it does not mean that it's locked in and confirmed. I'm convinced that Cloud9 are going to make big changes, for example, but we don't really have any crazy rumors on that as of yet. Now, if you guys have really been living under a rock the last couple of days, let me just catch you up to speed real quick. The Guard organization that won Ascension in the Americas rejected the team partnership agreement to join the VCT Americas. Riot then said, all right, sound. We don't have to promote anyone, only 10 teams next season. Yes, the Guard and their management and their structure has messed up on this one big time, but mainly this screws over the players. These guys that worked so hard all season to earn their spot, to get the spot into the partnership league and achieve that, now all of a sudden find themselves without a job for the new season. Absolute disaster from so many angles, and we discussed it in great length yesterday. There's been lots of reaction to this, and for good reason. Even Adam Apicella comes out that look and says the players are the team, not some brand trying to monetize them. There was a thought a few years ago that if we work with organizations it'll be better, but you know, the reality is if the kids earn the spot, don't let some wannabe sports team executive take it from them. And talking about the piggish GAs, you know, general and administrative expenses on the team side, and talking about how if you want to get rich being an org owner, then you know, about 10 years too early on this one. So you know, Adamat was going off at them, right, at the Guard, but also at Riot for making this decision. There was you know, signatures started to get signed to petitions to say, look, allow them to play anyway, because the obvious solution here, especially because Riot's big complaint was, what if the Guard sell the team to another brand? They sell the team to G2, G2 pay a buyout for those players, and you know, Riot don't want that to happen. They don't want a spot to effectively be sold. That's not part of their thing. But the Guard, they want out of it. They want out of esports. They want to dissolve. They have said they are going to release all of the players. They will be fully unrestricted. Now, you know, so there's no selling. There's no buyout involved. The obvious solution is to do the same thing as would have happened if these guys were competing for no brand, which is allow them to sign with a new organization that Riot, I guess, would approve, the players want to go for, and, you know, there's no trickery in terms of contracts or anything. That's the obvious solution here. But Riot said, no, we effectively have an excuse not to do it. And this is where some of the backlash came in, and I respect a lot the guys like Baller and the guys like a Sideshow who've actually come out and said, you know, that Riot's making terrible decisions here. This is a really bad look for so many angles because, you know, maybe you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, but, you know, I respect a lot the honesty of these guys to give their perspective because, as Baller says, to me, the decision about the Guard by Riot reeks of opportunity cost savings. This team won't sign. Perfect. We didn't want to spend on the stipends, split more revenue, deal with the logistical aspects of 11th team anyway. Not okay. Protect the players. The players are the lifeblood of the sport, and, you know, they deserve the spot as far as I'm concerned. So even as Sabrosa said, pretty obvious reply really to Leo Farrier's comment that we discussed yesterday, so why not just let the Guard players find a different org that's eligible? Makes perfect sense. But as Sabrosa says, the players are now free agents. There's no sale involved. The Guard aren't making any money of this. There really is no issue for this to be the case unless Riot, you know, unless you give me a really good reason why this can't be the case, which I don't really think you can. So then Leo Farrier responds. He actually gives us update on this as of today, and this, you know, had far more likes, far less quote tweets, far less replies than the original one did. I mean, we can probably just have a look at the comparison here, right? Little bit of difference here, right? But, you know, this original response, there was way more backlash to it than there was to this one. And, you know, so he follows up and says, I appreciate the passion with which you all showed up to advocate on behalf of the players. We hear you. There are still significant risks our team needs to dig into, but we're working through this and hope to find a positive outcome for the players. We'll update you all when we know more. So, look, this doesn't say much. Is it just more PR spin from Riot Games? Quite possibly, yes. But still, he's saying that they are effectively reconsidering because their original perspective here was that they aren't changing their mind. Like when they discussed this, it was like, yep, you know, we're disappointed for the players, but unlucky. We're not going to change our minds. We've made the decision. We're going to do what's best for the long term. Now they're saying, okay, we hear the backlash. You've got a point. And, you know, we're still concerned about certain elements, but we'll try and find a positive outcome for the players. And that would seem to me to just allow them to sign to an organization that wants to sign the team partnership agreements. And it's good for everyone, is it not? Maybe, as Baller says, it's not good for Riot Games because they've got to pay the stipend. Maybe they don't want to pay. But that's how they design their ecosystem. So you reap what you sow. So do you buy this from Riot and Leo that they are going to change their mind? Or because that's the implication here, right? It's like, okay, we have some concerns, but we're still going to find a way to make it work. And the other thing that I didn't even really mention yesterday or the day before is that why does this need to be done right now? Like, why did this decision to not bring the Guard in have to be made in August? you've made literally like a 6 months off season, right? Like there's a massive off season here. The season starts again in January. Is there any hurry to find this to make it work? Like, did it need to be less than a week after Champions for them to say, yep, the guard, unlucky guys, you're not coming in, the players will get screwed, and yeah, we'll see you in 5 months when you start to play in Challengers again. I'm like, surely we should use this time that Riot allocated for this massive off-season for arguably, arguably it shouldn't be this long, to instead figure out a way to make this work right. It's not like the season starts next week and we have to come to a decision now. There's a massive time window to make this work well for both parties. So, I suggest they use it, is what I would say. So Josh RT, their coach, he says, thanks for reconsidering, and hopefully they will, and hopefully we get a positive outcome here for all of the players involved. And, this from Avaz I thought was pretty funny, really, because it does kind of sum up the situation. Bullying works. I mean, look, the entire community, for good reason, was in uproar about this. The likes of, Mogul Mail, right, Ludwig or whatever, he was talking about it. He did a big video on it as well that kind of blew up about how his frustrations on what's been occurring over the last few days compared to the last year. The community, even commentators, casters, people that work for Riot effectively are calling it out. So I think it was inevitable that some sort of response was necessary, and hopefully we get a good response for all the players involved. But I wouldn't hold out too much hope for that one just yet. Just one final thing I did want to mention here was from Disguised Toast. He was actually saying that despite all of this drama, some teams in Tier 2 still really want to get into the, to win Ascension and qualify for the Partnership League to such an extent that the salaries in Tier 1 are coming down. Like the Tier 1 teams, they can't afford to pay these crazy money anymore, so they're dropping down their salaries. But in Tier 2, the salaries apparently are going up, because even though what's happened with the guards, other organizations see that and say, well, we'd have signed that contract to get into the league, and that's what we want to do. So they're actually, if anything, willing to pay more money in Tier 2 than Tier 1. So it's kind of wild, and it also means that DSG might have a harder time getting a particularly competitive roster for next season. But very much intrigued your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
In Tier 2, you get all these orgs coming in, and they want that franchising spot. So they're going to be paying big money. Like, I'm thinking 7K or 8K. So it's kind of weird. The Tier 2 scene is going to get even more expensive. And then the Tier 1 scene is going to get